super proud, but I'd like to say I am still a warrior. For not only, obviously while I was in uniform, I'm still a warrior because it's a mentality, it's a frame of mind out of uniform. I am obviously, faith is important to me. I'm God-fearing, and I'm out there trying to become the best version of myself every single day, and to now inspire others and to motivate and to help others see that our best days are still ahead of us, despite challenges, despite hard, those challenges and obstacles that we face every day. We can still live our best life, and those days are ahead of us.
You face battles most never fought, pain, struggle, adversity. But here, we use that as fuel. This is the Battle Harder podcast, where we motivate, educate, and inspire warriors of life, veterans, survivors, leaders. We share stories and strategies to turn pain into progress. Here's your host, Coach Rob. Let's lock in and battle harder.
What is up, everybody? It's your host, Coach Rob, here at the Battle Harder podcast, where I hope to motivate, educate, and inspire you to become the best version of yourself. My guest today is a veteran, an Army veteran. He is what I consider an elite athlete, top of the food chain. I can't wait to get into this conversation because fitness, military, everything about being a man, leadership is near and dear to my heart. And my whole goal is to make America tough, strong, and hard to kill again. So I'd like to welcome to the show, Cole DeRosa. Cole, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for an opportunity to chat with you. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm looking forward to talking to you this afternoon and hopefully, reaching and inspiring and motivating your audience.
Yeah, we got to get you up there to the David Goggins level because, bro, that hardware is insane. But before we get started, just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you currently do.
Yeah, boy, it's hard to unpackage, after, 53 years old now and here in a few days, 29 years of service in the military, U.S. Army, Army Ranger, an infantry officer, started out enlisted, went to that dark side, became an officer, a high level, achieving and aspiring athlete, endurance athlete. Who am I? That's tough. I am a veteran. Super proud, but I'd like to say I am still a warrior. For not only, obviously while I was in uniform, I'm still a warrior because it's a mentality, it's a frame of mind out of uniform. I am obviously, faith is important to me. I'm God-fearing, and I'm out there trying to become the best version of myself every single day, and to now inspire others and to motivate and to help others see that our best days are still ahead of us, despite challenges, despite hard, those challenges and obstacles that we face every day. We can still live our best life, and those days are ahead of us.
That's awesome, and I want to unpack the warrior mentality a little bit. Why do you think for veterans and even active duty that getting out, why do we lose that warrior mentality as soon as we get out of the military? Yeah,
I think there's a couple things, in my opinion. One, as soon as you hang the uniform up, a lot of people think, that warrior ethos that we've always talked about, that's our brothers and sisters to the left and right, that we get up every day, that we work with daily, that's they're a part of that team effort. A lot of times they think that warrior mentality it's no longer there or needed, but I think that's complete opposite. That warrior mentality was instilled in us while we were in uniform, and you can still maintain that when you get out. And I think it's even more important to maintain that when you get out, because you can reflect and you have all those values, all those skill sets that made you adaptable, malleable, that allowed you to be successful while in uniform. Those still skill sets, values can be utilized and touched upon when you're out of uniform, because challenges are still arising. You are still leading or still part of a team when you're out of uniform. And it's even more important out of uniform because you're probably touching a lot of different individuals who maybe never wore the uniform, who never was instilled or seen or understand what that warrior mentality, that warrior spirit, that warrior ethos is all about. And through action, you can improve those individual lives around you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've never understood, and maybe some of us are just built different, as people like to say, because as soon as I got out, I kind of lost everything, and I kind of went down a dark path, but I had to find my way back and realize that there's more life to live and there's more things for Coach Rob to give on this earth. So I definitely appreciate that definition. Let's talk a little bit about your military time and what led you to go into the Rangers, and kind of what happened with all of that in your experience.
Yeah, it actually starts left to bang before I actually, raised my, right hand like so many of us have, enlisted. I was in Germany, finishing up high school. My adoptive father, was a sergeant major in the Army. And I was just walking in the PX, the post exchange there on base. And I saw an enlistment banner. It says, hey, we want you. And it was a guy haloing, rappelling out of a helicopter, and it was Special Forces. And as soon as I saw that, that inspired me, that motivated me, because I've just been an individual through athletics, through high school, and 15 years of baseball, wrestling, soccer, baseball. I've always tried to do a little better, challenge myself with those situations. And I thought if I was going to be in the military, I wanted to be challenged. I wanted to try to be that tip of the spear. So, I asked the recruiter, I said, hey, here's the deal. That's what I want to do. Now, at that time, 1991, dating myself, there wasn't an X-ray program where, in other words, you can actually enlist into special operations. Once you're done with basic, boom, you go into that pipeline. At that point, you had to become an E4, put in a Special Forces assessment and selection packet, and then go to selection. So that's kind of, that was the motivation initially right there. That really started shaping my mentality just on, military and what I wanted to in that path. And so, as soon as I hit E4 after a year in Korea, came back to the States, Fort Benning, Georgia, and I immediately started training and put my packet in for Special Forces assessment and selection, and went to that at Fort Bragg, and was actually selected to become an 18 series. But unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately at that time, I was being mentored that, hey, have you ever thought about becoming an officer? I'm now an E5, a Q course coming up. And I was like, nah, not really. It's not something that interests me. And my leadership was like, well, why? Well, I said, no disrespect, but I haven't seen a lot of leaders, the lieutenants that I was around, that inspired me, motivated me. And they said, that's exactly why you should go to OCS. We see something in you. And if it wasn't for that opportunity for a lieutenant colonel to come to me face to face, pull this young E5 out and say, hey, I think there's an opportunity here for you to better the Army. And luckily, I took that opportunity and went to officer candidate school. Come that time, now we're moving into global war and terror, 2001. I had to go to infantry officer school, IOBC. Then 03 kicked off when I was commissioned as a infantry platoon leader, light infantry platoon leader. Had an opportunity to go to potentially qualification course to get my long tab in SF, or take an infantry platoon into combat into Baghdad. There was no way I was going to give up an opportunity to lead into combat. And so I did that. And long story short, I was wounded in that deployment, was there a full year, and was supposed to go to Ranger School, and just wasn't fit. Then multiple more deployments. Finally, I was able to get to go Ranger School after a second deployment to Iraq. And that's how I became, Army Ranger. Why not Special Forces pipeline? Well, as you move for an officer, there's a small window. Unlike enlisted, much larger window to go into the regiment, a much small, or to selection, Special Forces pipeline, very small window for officers because you promote up. And as a captain, you're a team leader. And then, as a major, you move up. So I'd already moved out of that, what we call, that fiscal year where they were looking for officers. So for me, then it was, heading to Ranger School. And that's, and long story short, how I went into the Ranger pipeline. And
so I have to ask, right? Like, you could have decided not to lead a platoon into Baghdad. You decided to, you got injured. You probably could have retired or got out at that time. You decided to go to Ranger School. Like, what was your mindset during this whole time? Because that's the whole thing about what I try to unpack is what was in your brain going on that you said, hey, I still have more to do, more to give, more to serve.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think for the very first one, having this unique opportunity, and especially, when we're looking at 2004, 2005, and even, a couple years later, platoons led combat. They weren't company missions. They weren't battalion missions. It was that platoon leader leading, planning, preparing, facing enemy. And I was in downtown Baghdad. So we were talking very close quarter urban operations. All our injuries were, anywhere from the most part grenade distance to immediate dismounted IEDs. We were dismounted the whole time. My platoon alone, we had 36 Purple Hearts. That just shows you the level of urban operations, which is extremely difficult. But when you look as an infantryman and history is extremely important in the military. Some, gravitate more to others. As a professional infantry officer, it'd been years since we had fought true urban operation warfare. Even Desert Storm wasn't true urban operation. So you have to go back almost all the way into Vietnam and then really talk about some of our allies and look at the history there. Well, there's just so many great leaders and examples of leadership in combat. And I was very curious on how I would be able to prepare, how I would be able to lead, how would I be able to cope with these very auspicious environments while trying to lead men in over 300 combat operations in just that first deployment alone. And so what I realized really quick, good or bad, I had a very unique ability to compartmentalize. We could talk about that. That doesn't necessarily lead to positive relationships when you get home, but it worked very well in combat. Also, there were some things that really powered my faith in God when you come to situations where you are just millimeters, seconds from death, and that power of faith. And so all of those, I just felt like I had something to give, something to lead. And as opposed to, just getting out to the military, retiring, or deciding not to stay on that path and deploy again in a couple of years into Mosul during the surge, I still wanted to serve my fellow infantry officers. I wanted to serve the Army. I felt like there was something there still that I saw those who had a very difficult time, and no judgment against that. Combat is difficult. So there are some people that just weren't able to cope. And if I could relieve some of that stress in the ranks and take a role in a next deployment to prevent somebody who was just having difficulty in coping and going back, I wanted to do that for my fellow leaders, for my fellow infantrymen, for my unit. And that's why that's one of the reasons why I stuck to that and, maintained in that environment, that combat arms.
Do you think some of that was due to like your upbringing? I mean, that's a very internal strength to say, hey, I'm a leader, I'm going to lead. And, just like, me being in the Navy, Ranger School is tough. It's not an easy thing, just like trying to be a Navy SEAL or, a MARSOC Marine or whatever. So, I mean, do you think some of your upbringing helped you instill these values inside of you?
Yeah, I think, one, being competitive and getting into sports and being involved in sports builds competitive spirit. And the combat arms, even if you're not in the combat arms, there's competitive spirit in there. So some of that is going to be self-induced. Like, listen, you're going to get over this. You've been through difficult situations before. You've come out of these situations stronger, better. You were able to shape leadership traits and skills. Did you make mistakes along the way? Yes, but I didn't run from them. I learned from them and tried to adapt my leadership values and how I go about leading to become a better leader. Because ultimately, I wanted to be as successful as I could be. That means there's going to be a captain. I want to be next step would be, leading a company into combat, which I did in Afghanistan. Next would be, an operations officer, maybe battalion commander leading a battalion, and then who knows, maybe a 1-star or 2-star leading a division. So each those opportunities, I saw those as stepping stones to shape, become better, stronger. So I would be prepared for that next level because I wasn't ready to, say, I'm done. And no harm in that. If I was facing a situation where, I couldn't go on any longer, but most of the challenges, and I think, again, I go back to sports, you're always putting yourself in these uncomfortable situations in sports. Then when you go into the military, you're even in more uncomfortable situations. And that range, if you will, starts to shift. At some point, this was uncomfortable. This is going to be hard. But then you put yourself, or you find yourself in this next very difficult, uncomfortable situation, and you reflect back and you're like, you know what? Okay, I can do this because I was faced with this. So all of those opportunities just make you and broaden your ability to cope and grow and evolve and become stronger and mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Yeah, I truly believe that, especially in sports, they need to bring back healthy competition. There's nothing wrong with competition. There's nothing wrong with winning. There's nothing wrong with losing. It teaches us valuable lessons. And guys, we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back with Cole, we're going to talk about the best Ranger competition, all that hardware behind him, and getting into Team Red, White, and Blue and the Old Glory Run, which I think is probably most important to him out of all the trophies. So we'll be right back. They told you to stay comfortable. You chose the battle. Battle Fitted is for the few who live by discipline in the gym, in the mirror, and in the mind. This isn't just fitness, it's transformation. From our coaching and mindset resources to apparel that speaks without saying a word, to keynotes that shake rooms awake, we train warriors, not followers. No fluff, no shortcuts, just real work, real change. If you're tired of talking about it, prove it. Lock in your first workout, grab your gear, book the mission at battlefittedbrand.com. All right, and we're back with Cole. And Cole, what I want to know, because I have no clue about the Best Ranger competition, what is that, and how did you compete in that?
Yeah, no, that's great. So Best Ranger is the hardest military competition throughout the services. It happens once a year. It's 61 to 62 Best Ranger teams annually compete at the Best Ranger competition at Fort Benning, Georgia in April. And those are going to be 2-man teams. And usually each division can have anywhere from 2 to 3 teams. So take it, I represented 101st Airborne, which I was with the 506, the Band of Brothers. And so you have to, at the division level, compete to make sure that you are, the best of that division is going to the Best Ranger competition. Marines, National Guard will send one team, Marines, Special Forces, the Ranger Regiment naturally has the teams. And you all move out to Fort Benning, Georgia in April. And it is 62 hours of straight competition. It's everything from skill level 1 to skill level 3, shoot, move, communicate, medicate. multiple tasks from airborne operations to shooting historic weapons, ranger, first responder, rappelling, night, day, land navigation, lots of ruck marching. And so, sleep deprivation and food deprivation. And it is really a survival of the fittest. And there are benchmarks every single day that if you do not make them, the teams get cut, shorter and shorter until the final day. You run across that best ranger finish line on Sunday, at 1500 or 3 o'clock. And so for me, it went back again. I was at Ranger School, and while I was in Ranger School, I saw part of the Ranger Regiment preparing for the best Ranger competition. And I immediately said at that point, that is what I want to do, because that is the best of the best, competing against the best. I want to know, how am I going to hold up? How am I going to fare? And so ended up deploying. And as soon as I got back from Afghanistan, taking my company for a year in Afghanistan, we had my Ranger partner and I, Al Garcia, at that point was the part of the scout sniper team in our battalion. Now is a career special forces soldier. We talked, we got together. He's like, hey, you want to do this best ranger? We hadn't even really prepared. We only had about 45 days to put our name in the hat to try to get selected. And that is the next step. That's the beauty of trying to always be prepared, trying to keep yourself at a high level of readiness, mentally, physically, emotionally, because I didn't have to think about it. I said, yes, we can do it. We will have about 75 days to train. Obviously, our battalion and brigade is going to support this. And so, it was 2012, so 3 years after Ranger School. We represented 101st Airborne at Best Ranger competition. We didn't get first, but we didn't get last, and we got across the finish line. So, as I said, multiple teams are cut along the way if you're, don't meet a time standard or not meeting a certain task standard. So, we are super proud of that. One of our, that's one to share that with Al Garcia, but to cross that finish line, that's one of my most pride possessions. We joked about it all the time. The picture coming across the best ranger with our weapons in hand, big smiles after 62 hours of competing, that 33-cent picture, really, to me, it was worth millions. I felt I was the richest man, and so fortunate. That was the best ranger competition.
Yeah, I have a thing I like to say called the ABCs, and that's called always be challenging yourself. I think no matter how old we are, what age we are, we need to put ourselves through challenges. Like you have to. That's the only way to stay sharp, to stay ready, to be hard to kill, so to speak. And it's just something about being with your team. And I wish more people, like on the civilian side, knew from a law enforcement or military perspective, how much it takes to be able to work with a team and do moving and shooting drills and EMT drills and, be land nav and without food or water for days, stuff like that. I think that's a very powerful thing to, being a man and a testament of who we are. So what eventually led you, what made you say, okay, I'm going to start running Spartan races and get into that? And then, what was kind of like your training regimen like with that? Because you're a very high performer. And for the people at home that's never run a Spartan, I know there's a lot of questions. What age group are you in for that?
Yeah, so I am 53, so that puts me in the 50 to 54 age group, but I usually run elite. So there is no age group for that. Now I am the 4-time world champion in age group, because in the world champion or the very national level events, I can't compete at the elite, the high level. But my regional races, which I was just in Utah, and this day 2, I ran elite. In 2 weeks, I'll be in Asheville, North Carolina. I'll be running an elite. And those trophies, all the deltas are actually all elite trophies, and I've maintained an elite podium. My streak is 8 years straight at the age of 50. And we can unpack that and why I do that. And why I think Spartan allows an older athlete to be super successful, because I want to caveat that. I'm not a collegiate athlete. When I first started, I was at the back of the pack, and I had to work specify my training, adjust training to get me to the point where now, I have now 200 elite and age group podiums over my career. So how did I get into Spartan? So probably like a lot of people in the sport that I talked to, a friend said, hey, I see you're always working out, you're running. I was stationed in San Antonio at the time. It was 2015, getting ready to go on another deployment. And I said, hey, you might be interested in this thing called Spartan Race. Well, first thing I did, get on, try to Google it, you recon it, right? That's what we do, prep the objective. And I said, man, it was cool. Trail running, it was in Austin, so it wasn't too far away. Obstacles, very military, centric, carrying some heavy stuff. And I said, yeah, let's try this out. I did the open wave. So in other words, not the competitive. And I had a great time. And immediately deployed, and while I was on deployed, I kept thinking about that. And I said, now I hear there's, this elite category, and I wanted to be competitive and push and challenge myself. And so deployed, came back in 16 before another deployment. And I did I think 4 or 5 more and hit my first elite podium at over 40 years old. And so that immediately, set a fire. But why Spartan? Why endurance competitions like High Rocks and Tough Mudder? What I like about it is, unlike a road race, which I did do some half marathons and some trail runs, but when you're talking about just a clean, sanitary road race, the race is over by mile 3 of a 10-mile race if you are 30 seconds behind, because people are running right at their max capacity. You're not going to make up that kind of time. What I really enjoyed about obstacle course racing or in High Rocks, these functional fitness endurance events, is you have the ability to, add in strength. So someone who's maybe stronger, which I run against some young men who I am 30 years old. I stand on the podium. I'm 30 years older than them, older than their fathers. They are very fast runners. Have me dead to rights on a course, make big gaps, but they're not as strong physically or their muscular endurance because they're just pure runners. So then they either aren't good compromised runners, they fail obstacles, or the heavy carries reduce their ability to really run fast, where I work a lot at working compromised runs. So you have that ability to shrink that gap, that performance gap. So while at age 50, I can easily compete and still get elite podiums with, guys that are 22, 25, 30 years old every year, because there are so many different modalities required in an endurance sport like that, unlike, like I said, a road race. And that really motivated me to, try to look at that sport and how can I maximize a performance. And the great thing about it is you're really running aerobic or high aerobic. And as an older aging athlete, as 50, it's tough to say, your aerobic capacity can last years. Your top end speed is what reduces you to get older. But aerobic capacity can last well into 60s and 70s. So you can still improve, you can still get better, you can still get faster in events like that. So in the Spartan race, I love the fact that you're being put in these very difficult situations. As you know, I was in the mountains of Utah, up to 9,000 feet. I live at sea level. Was it difficult? Do I climb a lot? No, but walking up that mountain puts you in a mindset. I said 3 dozen times, I don't think I'm going to do this year. I've been there 8 years for this race. But I remind myself again, looking at, turning, pain into progress. I thought about, what? I'm not carrying that 120-pound ruck during mountain phase of Ranger School. When I don't know when I get to go to sleep or when I get to eat, because I haven't eaten 20 hours and I've been moving for 19 hours. This is only 2 more miles up and then I get to run down. So all those different opportunities, I like how it just challenges you mentally and physically. And it just allows you to continue to grow as a person, much less as an athlete. And I don't think anybody has to be at the elite level I'm at. You just have to continue to put yourself, and Spartan does a great job putting you in that environment, because you might have trained in the heat, but all of a sudden, we go to Big Bear and it snows, which that has happened. It was a Saturday race that was extremely hot. Sunday, the snow came, or the rain, and it's muddy. So you have to be adaptable. And I love that fact about, OCR, obstacle or high rocks, that you're just always being put in these very uncomfortable situations, and physically and mentally, you have to adjust if you want to be successful. And it gives you an opportunity to be successful.
And I love that. And I think everybody, regardless of fitness level, if they're in some form of activity, they should at least try a Spartan race at least once, because it's very humbling. And when I owned my gym, I would actually take a team, like they'd be like, oh, we're not going to do Spartan. I'd be like, yeah, you're going to do Spartan. And we would, strength train for it. And then they would do Spartan and be like, man, this wasn't so bad. Like, once again, the whole theory behind everything I do is that discomfort is what equals progress, right? I mean, without discomfort, you can't grow. So Team Red, White, and Blue, man, that's a group that's near and dear to my heart. I was lucky during their first round of social media ambassadors. I was one of their ambassadors for a little bit. And awesome. You had the honor of doing something that I don't think I would have the cardio to do. So talk about a little bit about running 275 miles across country carrying the American flag.
Wow, what a great opportunity. Yeah, so Old Glory Ultra Relay, the inaugural race across the U.S. to set a world record, 3,003 miles. We did it, spoiler alert, in 16.2 hours, or 16 days and 2 hours, and we did set the world record. And just amazing. And, I sacrificed individual sport, a lot of key races, and I do have sponsorships. I sacrificed those for an opportunity to be part of this team, to show what veterans are very capable. And just for anybody who is listening, if you're not a member of Team RWB, please sign up. You're a veteran. It's free. There's no obligation, and it's only 78% are veterans or active duty. The others are those who support veterans. So you can also join too, but it's just fabulous, because if you do want to do a Spartan race, they have free bibs where you can race for free and get part of that community. So I just wanted to throw that in there. I think it's, extremely important. So yeah, for me, well, the first thing, and it kind of layers in what we've talked about, being prepared. I just retired last June. Well, now, June. So 13 months ago. And I got the email for the Old Glory Ultra Relay maybe 2 weeks after I retired. So one of the prerequisites is you must be retired, not in the National Guard, to do this for a variety of reasons. Well, one, it's because it's trying to promote veterans' health and wellness. And so that was the beauty of it. I am what you call a low volume runner, but a high volume athlete. So what does that really mean? I don't run a lot of miles, but I put a lot of other work in, cross training, gym. So I augment my running with a lot of gym work, cross training, strength work, mixed modality. So where I'm running maybe 45 miles a week, when you're talking about the Old Glory Ultra Relay, there's people in there running, 70, 80, 90 mile weeks. That is not me. But I gave it 15 probably minutes of reading that email and said, you know what, I can do this. It's supposed to start in, at that time it was 10 months. In 10 months, I can do that. And that's the great thing about keeping yourself in a level of preparedness, so you can, whether it's in combat, where it's difficult situations in your current job, or whether it's difficult situations with your health or difficult situations in your relationships, fitness prepares you and absorbs those difficulties. And so by keeping myself at a high state of readiness, I knew that I could be prepared and I could do that, even though I'm a low volume runner, and I would have to run the most amount of miles at a very deliberate pace, not an easy run, for that event. So I immediately put my name in the hat. I think I was the second person selected. And I am not an ultra, there's only two of us, and we're pure ultra runners. But this journey, this competition, this race was not really about a true ultra run where you go out and run, jog 100 miles or jog, walk, run 100 miles. This is relay style. And for me, the speed work that I put in, I knew was going to be important. What I didn't know was I going to be able to sustain the impact, for 16 or 17 days of, 16, 17 miles every day at a very deliberate, fast pace. So, right. But I knew I could get there. So yes. So bottom line is, put my name, 12 veterans were selected. And each of us, my team, we had to run 2 hours every day, roughly. I think I was 2 hours and 10 minutes. I ran right at 17 miles every single day. One day was 22 miles. Some days were a little less if we're going up the mountains because you want to maintain pace. I averaged a 7:36. We had to keep at 7:45 for the world record to establish it. That was the goal. So I established under, as a collective team of 12, we were under that pace. Burned about 4,300 calories every single day. I ran those 17 miles at pace every day. Got about 4 hours sleep. Tough sleep deprivation, coming together as a team, feeling the weight of Team RWB and their mission to highlight veterans because, and I'm a little tangent here. So we see a lot of advertisement of veterans broke. And there are organizations out there that are highlighting that because they're doing good for veterans who need a lot of help. Team RWB was a little different, upstream approach. We want to show that veterans are still capable, still have the ability through health and wellness to have a very, positive way of life. And it's not saying our team, none of us are quote unquote broke. Most of us have Purple Hearts. I have TBI. Zach Polega, also an Army Ranger, almost lost his leg. Johnny Glenn, Special Forces guy, he has severe TBI, about died. So most of us are dealing with severe issues. But what we want to highlight is through fitness, through community, through purpose, through a common goal, we can overcome all of that or absorb it a lot easier. And that was beautiful. And me as the second oldest athlete on the whole Glory Ultra Relay, I also felt a responsibility to older aging athletes, veterans who often sit back and says, man, I can't do that. That was the last thing I said. And to be able to say, I can do that, as opposed to, man, I can't do that. I always want to put myself in a position to say, I can, not I can't. And so the other piece to this is two more. We carried an American flag. Wasn't just any American flag. This flag was carried by the director now, Sully, through a special operations in Afghanistan, multiple special operations missions. It flew over joint bases with Afghans and U.S. Special Forces and on, again, direct action missions. So while carrying that flag, I thought about not only me and how many times did we raise our hand to that flag, whether it's re-enlisting or at ceremonies or when our brothers and sisters died in combat. I was literally dripping on the flag and said, I'm going to get this flag home, because there was hard days. There was days I didn't think I could maintain that pace. So reflecting on that the importance of getting that flag where we wanted to take it, Washington, D.C., to take it home to the future site of the global war on terror. There is no war memorial for global war on terror and we're still fighting 22 something years. We have other war memorials where loved ones can come in and say thank you to their spouse or their father or their brother and sister who has paid the ultimate sacrifice. We don't have that yet. And we were taking that flag to the future site where the Global War on Terror Foundation is going through Congress to get approval to have that built, which it will be. So that was the other piece. So there was a lot of things going. And plus, I wanted to do it for my teammates to my left and right and be the best version and be capable and be ready, be available, be a good leader, be positive, and help them also, get to the objective. And we did.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. And I just want to highlight too on Team Red, White, and Blue. It's because of Team Red, White, and Blue, the things that they've given to me for essentially free or nothing other than my service to my country is why I ended up deciding to do what I currently do as Coach Rob, as the brand outfit, is everything I do. Because when they said, hey, we're going to accept you as an ambassador, and I was able to dive really deep into Team Red, White, and Blue and what they did, I was like, man, here is a veteran nonprofit that puts fitness over everything. And to me, that was very important, because I tell people all the time, fitness essentially saved my life, because I got out of the military, I lost my community overnight. I got depressed, I got overweight. I was up to almost 300 pounds just depressed and miserable. And I literally had to change my mindset and decide to, work out to lose the weight and not succumb to my injuries. And I think a lot of veterans don't realize this, and maybe you can highlight this a little bit. I really truly believe, and people think I'm crazy, that if it wasn't for health and fitness, strength training, eating healthy, running now and then, that my injuries would be a lot worse than they are. And that the reason why I can run, walk upstairs, play with my kids, do all the things that I want to do well into, my 50s and 60s, I'm 47 years old now, is because of fitness and training. So would you like to expand on that?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I want to say this right here. Always improve your foxhole. That's a term that's used in the military. And it can be a variety. As an infantry officer or as an infantryman, we build a foxhole for protection. It's never done because we have priorities of work. So, hey, all right, we need to go a little deeper. Hey, we need to improve our overhead cover. Hey, vegetation is starting to die. Let's improve that. Hey, let's get now a hard structure. So as a priorities of work, you're always trying to improve that foxhole. What does that mean? As an individual, try to improve yourself. So, in the military, we put fitness, as you know, that's a cornerstone, the backbone, and for a variety of reasons. Builds discipline, builds character, camaraderie, there's community, helps in health, allows you to absorb stressful situations, and all those things. A lot of times when we get out, we put that on the back burner. It's not a priority anymore, where the military did a great job of prioritizing. That's the first thing we do. It's going to help you maintain that warrior spirit, and that gets put on the back burner. So I always remind people, continue to improve that, folks. Continue to improve yourself. And so that also means, what do we do as we get older? Well, we change the things we're doing. Okay, now it's about my new job. Now that I have the military, maybe I want to move up. How about investing? I want to be able to retire one day. So I'm putting in a lot of work in investment. What about investment into our health? You don't have to be at the level I'm at. I'm at the far spectrum where you can run across the United States or, you podium. You can be over here. You just have to do a little more than you did the day before. Just have to do some. And it's extremely cheap. Body weight movements, body weight work. But to your point, what you were talking about, it absolutely is ability to, when you talk about community, if you got moving a little more than that you did, maybe it's just walking. What you end up seeing is maybe you meet a neighbor or someone around your block that you didn't know before. Maybe they're walking too. And what happens is positivity happens when you bring a community of like-minded people, fitness, motivated together. Very rarely would you go to a run club or a Spartan race and you have people in there saying, being extremely negative, what the heck is going on? No, that's not what happens. And that's the beauty about fitness. It builds positivity. It builds self-confidence. It really just, extends your limits. So, I tell people all the time, and Team RWB does a great job about allowing you to improve your foxhole, with their, online app, where you want to do something virtual. Maybe you're not ready to do an in-person meetup in your city. And that's fine, because I now that I'm out, I like to be more alone. I train alone, but they have virtual workouts. And so you can do it at home and you can be part of that virtual, because maybe you don't know necessarily what to do. Well, you can get involved and they'll provide that to you. And maybe that next step is, maybe I want to do, they're doing a walk, run, ruck in, the local park. And then you decide to join up. So now you're building just this other community of positivity, where you have the ability, and we each, I say you, us, our, your listeners, you have a lot to give to people, and we have a lot to learn from people. And this just gives you an opportunity to, get together like-minded people, improving your foxhole through health, because all the studies show, I don't have to say it, as you get older, bone density, over 40, bone density releases, muscle mass decreases. But fitness, time under tension, all these things dramatically reduce the effects of age. So again, if maybe you had to, and this is a testament, someone say, hey, I need help moving. How many people over 50 is like, man, I cannot move this couch down 2 flights of stairs. My But if you're fit and you have this baseline of general fitness, you can do it without being sore the next day. And that is the real beauty of it, because you can, reduce the effects of aging. Not only that, if you have loved ones, kids or grandkids, if guys at my age, you're motivating, inspiring, and instilling the importance of fitness in doing hard things. Spartan Race has kids races. It's a beautiful thing. I've seen the 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds out there just getting after it on their courses. Why they get involved? Because they saw their father or mother out there and they wanted to be part of it. So now you're changing a culture of a United States, and this is not Cole DeRosa saying this is statistics, that we are now overweight. 53% is overweight. We have declined. And that's going to have second, third order effects into those areas where you want to live well at retirement. But if you're not healthy and you're going to have all these health issues, it's how you're going to really enjoy that retirement. And not only that, like I said, it makes you more resilient, builds confidence. So kind of a long-winded soapbox, but
you're good, brother. You're good. No, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm glad you brought that up about the kids races, because I'm hoping to get back in training, because my son. So I have 3 kids. 2 of them are adults. Well, my youngest is 13, and the most beautiful thing ever this summer, he asked if he could go to the gym with his dad, and when I have him, we're weight training. And the greatest thing is he could have said, "Dad, this is hard. I don't want to do this. Like, I want to stop." He said, "When can we go again?" And that was just like, that was a testament to me as a father, to who I am as a man, leadership. And he wants to do a Spartan kids race. So hopefully next summer we'll get him in that and see how he does. I definitely got to get back to training. My running's been lacking here lately. So what has fitness done for you? You're an elite warrior, elite athlete. What has fitness done for your mental health?
Oh, golly. And I alluded to this earlier, this exterior, which we all have, hey, it looks good. I got it all together. My pieces are, but no, there are difficult days. And part of doing podcasts, and being part of Team RWB is, being honest with people. As I said, I struggle with, PTSD. I had TBI from multiple explosion close quarters that has dealt with cognitive issues. I've gone to the TBI clinic. So I have tinnitus, ringing in the ears. I have degenerative disc disease. Yes.
Me too.
You get absolutely just about all of us have it. And there's a whole list of other things, sleep issues, headaches, migraines. But fitness allows me really to absorb some of the negative. I'm going to have bad days. Yes.
Yeah.
But being fit, because a body in motion wants to stay in motion. Proven. A body at rest wants to stay at rest. But what happens if I said, you know what? I didn't get much sleep last night because my tinnitus kept me awake when I had to go pee at 2 a.m, and then I couldn't go back to sleep. And I only got 3 hours. And then, oh God, I'm starting to get a little bit of a migraine. It's easy to succumb to that and say, I think I'll just take today off. But that's when fitness and having goals, having something on the calendar, a Spartan race, or hey, I just want to lose 10 pounds by, September, whatever the case may be, will help keep you on track and say, you know what? No, this is not going to control me. I'm able to get out. So I would say, fitness has just helped me absorb a lot of that, stay on task, be consistent, because that's the other thing. Build consistency. Every workout doesn't have to be a home run.
No.
You just need to be consistent at doing something, because that's what builds progress. Consistency. It doesn't matter if you're trying to learn a language or whatever the case. If you're consistent, or woodworking, whatever the case may be, like, being consistent at doing it will beat having 1 or 2 a week, 3 great workouts, or 3 sessions that aren't consistent, and you're just consistently skipping them, getting to a good one. Just be consistent at doing something, and those are the building blocks. But fitness has helped me really. As we said, it's also community. It'd be easy for me to say, hey, I don't like to deal with people anymore. Now that I'm out, I really kind of get withdrawn, and that happens with PTSD, as we all know. And but Spartan races, these podcasts, if it wasn't for Spartan Race being a high-level athlete, I wouldn't have had a chance to meet you, Team RWB, to put me in these situations that we are now, uncomfortable situations, to talk about these things. And that's improving mental health and awareness. And it's, all of those things. So, yeah.
Yeah, the reason why I put myself out there is because of my mental health issues. Like I always tell everybody, being able to tell these stories and talk to people is a form of therapy to me. And it's funny that you mentioned the consistency, because I just did a post a couple of days ago about I wasn't consistent and I started feeling like crap again, and things were substantially getting worse with my mental health. And I was like, I had that little wake up call. That little inner bitch was like, hey, you need to get back in the gym. And just like you said, got up at 2 a.m., had to go to the bathroom, couldn't go back to sleep. But that next morning, I'm like, man, screw it. I'm going to the gym, and did what I had to do. And I'd rather have a tire workout than no workout at all. We're unpacking a lot here. And before we start to close down the show, I just want to know, do you currently do any form of like personal development or any other things that help you get through your day to day?
Yeah, I mean, personal development. Yeah. So that's a constant. So for me, it's reflecting. I'll be upfront. I needed to talk to somebody, therapy. And I as a combat arms guy, that's the last thing you wanted to do. And it took me till after getting out, because I was worried about how it would affect my career. Am I going to be given this next leadership position if, and I was worried. It's tough when, you're working 12, 13 hours a day, multiple meetings. I necessarily can't be away from the office for 2 hours to have. So one of my goals when I got out last year was like, okay, and talking to my girlfriend, who's extremely supportive and been around special operations, so she understands and has been patient with me because I'm not married. That's probably because of mental health issues that I have, and all the things that come with PTSD. So one is taking some of the tools that I was provided in those meetings and try to apply them. Or is it perfect every day? Do I still mess up? Yes, but at least I can reflect back on, okay, yeah, I probably reacted not in a good way. So instead of just mulling over that and letting that build up and fester, after the situation's over, I now have the ability to look at that and say, yeah, I handled this probably wrong. Here's probably a better way to look at it. And so those are, always important to me, that self-awareness. We've had it in uniform, being self-aware how we come across to people. But when you get out and you're around loved ones and you let your guard down a little bit and we're vulnerable, a lot of times, we lose that capability. So trying to maintain and understand how my actions are affecting other people. So that's absolutely something.
Yeah. So, emotional intelligence and emotional regulation are huge. And I didn't even know what those things were until I decided to face my trauma head on. And I'm really trying. I hope someday it happens. I'm trying to break that stigma that we have conversations like this where we realize that it's okay to not be okay. And I really hope that the military and first responders, police, fire, EMTs, they get the tools necessary to heal after, tough situations. Because same thing, man, especially me in law enforcement, after I got out of the military, I'm like, okay, I'm having these cuckoo banana thoughts. Am I broken? Am I messed up? Why am I throwing adult temper tantrum all the time? Why, when someone cuts me off, do I want to chase them down and, rip their throat out? Like, this is not healthy behavior. And just like you, so for me, I lost an 18-year marriage, I would say 60%. Now, it always takes two, and I always say this, but 60% my fault because of my PTSD, my depression, my anxiety, my emotional abuse to my wife. Thank God there was no physical abuse, but still abuse is abuse. And when I got with my new wife, my current wife, I was like, man, I really don't want this relationship to fail. And I don't want to be, back in the same situation. And I really had to go deep in that dark storm, so to speak, and face this shit head on. And just like most veterans are saying, like, I still have PTSD. It's never going to go away. I still have depression. I still have anxiety. I had a hell of a bad day today. I actually had to go to the VA, which I hate going to the VA to get some health care. And I was feeling lousy, and it happens. But now, just being 1% better every day, one foot in front of the other, I have more good days than bad. And that's what it's all about. It's just, you got to have more good days than bad, and realize that if you use these tools, fitness, eating healthy, doing some form of activity, trying to be a good father, a good leader, a good husband, a good man, a product of society, you can be an optimized total human and live a very purposeful, passionate life. So what's next for you, Cole, with everything that's going on, and where can people find you at and link up with you?
Yeah, I'll start with the latter. So Instagram at CJDROSA. You can find me there. You can DM me there. That's probably, the easiest. Next for me is, I have a race calendar, and, I have what I call B races and really A races, but the trifecta, Spartan Trifecta World Championship, it's not in Greece this year, so I get to stay stateside. It's in West Virginia in September. So I'm in a 7-week training block for that. I will be in Asheville Tryon in about 2.5 weeks, August 2nd, for an elite Spartan race there. That's really I'm creating that as a training opportunity. I got Boston High Rocks the end of September. And then, October is another Spartan race in Nashville, Dallas, another Spartan race, plus High Rocks in Dallas, and Spartan in South Carolina. And then in December, I will be, Army 10 miler in October. I always run that as well, just to make sure I'm keeping speed and sharpening. So a lot going on, and I'm excited, but so busy year.
So imparting words of wisdom to young men or men in general, or even older men, for someone that does want to be better and they don't know where to start, what would you give them as far as advice?
Yeah, one, I'd first say, what is better? Because that's pretty broad. Does it mean, if you're looking at fitness, or you're looking at just being a better, a family member, or, wife? So if we're looking at fitness, let's talk that, because I think fitness, if you work on becoming more physically fit, it has ripple effects, second, third order effects throughout everything in your life. And that's just not me, as you know this too. There's science behind that. So I would say the very first thing is, whatever you're doing, fitness-wise, just keep it consistent. Make it easy, and stop using limited language. And I used to cringe when I was like, God, I'm over 50, but I'm okay with saying that, because at 50, I'm still able to run, a 6-minute mile for 10 miles in the Army 10 mile and podium in the very elite races. And I'm not saying that to toot my horn. What I'm saying is there's still opportunities for you there. Are you ready to run if you're 53 now and you're saying I'm too old to get out there and do a Spartan race? No, because there's 70 and 80-year-olds doing it. I see them all the time. You just do it to your capability. No one's asking you to hit a podium. We're just asking you to step up, put yourself in an uncomfortable position, surround yourself with such positivity that are at these races, walk it, and enjoy being out and doing something tough. 99% of the population at the time that you're doing that Spartan race is probably sitting at home, just waking up, maybe hungover, and not bettering themselves, just digging a hole. Because as we said, they're atrophying. A body in motion, stay in motion. Body at rest, stay at rest. So I would say, put something on the calendar that's going to challenge you. If you're hitting the gym and you're working out pretty well, put yourself in some type of race. It doesn't matter. It could be a Deca Fit that Spartan has, or a local 5K race, just to put yourself out there. You don't have to win it. You just try to have something to sharpen yourself for, to work for, and then use that as to feel so much gratitude that you accomplished something great because you did a body of work to prepare. And one on those lines is, don't, as an older aging athlete, the biggest thing I love to say is stop letting age define you. Start defining your age. And that's one of the things I am trying to prove and show day in and day out with hard workouts and racing so much, is that we can do amazing things when you put your body consistently into the paces. Stop using that limited language. No, I can't do that. You can do it. And don't let age define you. Define that age.
Man, I'm really trying to stop saying this every single dang podcast, but you brought up that dang language. I always say you have to have limitless belief system, not a limited belief system. You got to reframe those words instead of saying, like you said, I can't, I can, instead of I won't, I will. And that there alone, those positive affirmations, believe it or not, they work. And I really liked what you said about if you've never done a Spartan or you don't run much, maybe just walk it and try to do the obstacles. That's pretty great thing. Like you're right. You can be outside. Me, unfortunately, I have the spirit of competition. So as soon as I get in there, it's go, go, go. But I like that. Enjoy it and just try something new as far as the realm of fitness. And fitness really is the gateway drug as far as being better in everything. So before we close out the show, I always ask my guests this: what is your definition of turning pain into progress?
Yeah, that's good. I think the first thing I would look at, I'd reframe it. When I think of a definition, it's finite. It's a set term. And if you don't quite hit that definition, you kind of failed or you missed the mark. But when I look at pain, there's so many different levels of pain that we have, that we each experience. It could be a pain from losing a loved one, pain from an actual injury, pain from a relationship, pain from, something that happened, a job, you got fired or you got a bad report. So I think the very first thing I would look at it more is it's a process. And so, it's extremely subjective, but pain is an opportunity to grow. It's an ability to learn maybe from a mistake. So I look at it more as a process, and pain is going to happen. But because all the things we talked about, we've put ourselves in these uncomfortable situations. Maybe you don't like to public speak. Maybe you've never done a Spartan race. Maybe you've just, you haven't gone to a local gym in a long time. Those are uncomfortable situations. And in that is growth. You're presented with a challenge, you become stronger, you can absorb it more. And so, maybe it is faith. So I had lots of pain in the military, in combat operations when you're losing a soldier or you're facing imminent death. For me, that was faith. Sometimes, like as we talked about in the Spartan race, I had pain, climbing up a very steep mountain up to 8,900, 9,000 feet as a sea level altitude. Very hard to breathe. Legs were blowing up. I am trying to do the best I can. And I was having those weak-minded thoughts. But then I could look at those very difficult situations where some of my brothers lost legs, who would love to be sitting in that pain from my foxhole, who can't. So it's really the ability to take a look at that situation. And I like to say, mental kung fu, change that viewpoint, that from your foxhole and say, yes, this is tough. We're all going to be in tough situations, but I can get through it because I got through this, and to reflect upon that. And it starts first thing in the morning. How many times do people hit the snooze? I don't want to get up. Hit the snooze again.
Yeah.
Just get up and say, you know what? I get to get up, because we all can think about somebody who no longer is with us, who can't get up. I think about, and you talk, I know Kerrville. I have a friend whose daughter was in Kerrville. She is fine. And how about, those loved ones who no longer can get up in the morning? So reflect and change that mentality and your thought process of, I don't want to get up, and think about, I can get up. I get to get up today. And just that starting, just putting that little, spark early in the day and to reflect on something or somebody or another environment that is way less fortunate, can help you. And it doesn't matter the level. And you could be, we could be homeless and still think about being worse off. And so, going back to your question, I would say that's how I would look at it. Is pain is a process, and to turn it into a progress, you have to kind of unpackage it and use multiple different avenues. And to me, it's a process, not so much a definition.
Guys, wise words from Cole DeRosa. And, my final thoughts is this. I think we're like episode 45, 46, and everybody, regardless of veteran, police officer, normal everyday person, coach, anyone that's come from a point of turning their life around, has all said the same thing. One, you have to believe in yourself. You have to change those negative thoughts to positive thoughts. As silly as it sounds, it works. There's always somebody out there worse than you, no matter where you are in life. Be grateful for the things that you have and the things you were given. As long as you wake up every day and you have breath in your lungs, you can become the best version of yourself, no matter what age, no matter who you are. And it starts with a little bit of activity and a lot of belief in yourself. So Cole, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And guys, as I like to say to my community, remember to always be fit for battle.
You've just heard another battle-tested conversation. Now it's time to take action. If this episode lit a fire in you, subscribe on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or YouTube, so you never miss a moment that could change your life. Want to go deeper? Connect with Coach Rob at BattleFittedBrand.com for coaching, gear, and tools to help you turn your pain into progress. Remember, life will test you, but you're built to battle harder. Until next time, stay locked in, stay ready, and keep showing up.